Hey y'all, this is Billy and William from Perma Pastures Farm, but as you can see, we're not alone. Look at this one here. This is Moose. Decided she'd make her little cameo, but also with us is the Strand family, James and Ashley Strand from Strand. It used to be Strand Ventures, but now it's just StrandFarm.
Yep, StrandFarm.
Yep, on YouTube, and you want to check them out because every time they come to visit, it is such a joy because it's like whenever I go down to Deep South Homestead and I get to hang out with Danny from Deep South. Moose is just over here grabbing all kinds of stuff. I get to have conversations, y'all, that by and large, I never get to have. So this is James, this is Ashley, you guys know William, and Ashley and William are back here. Look at what they're doing, y'all. We're not recreating something out of that front porch scene on Deliverance. You know, nobody's got a banjo or anything like that. But William's like an old hand at carving, and Ashley, who's really coming along, is really, look at that.
A new hand.
Look at that. So yeah, they do a lot of awesome stuff. So I just want to, we're going to kind of introduce them to you and find out what they're doing, and then we might go into another direction. So why don't y'all tell us a little bit about yourselves? And I guess, James, you're going to be speaking for both of you because Ashley said she's not saying a word.
So,
All right, well, I'll give it my best. So both Ashley and I, we're nurses. We're critical care nurses. We met each other in the field in this region of the country, and that was back in 2016. And when we met, we both had this same idea. One day we're gonna try to live off the land. We didn't know when, we didn't know how, but it was just something that we bonded over. And we figured, well, let's go out and figure out what's out there and become travel nurses and see the country and figure out where we want to settle down. So from 2016 to 2020, that's what we did. We'd work 6 months on, we'd take 6 months off and explore that part of the country. And we titrated our budget to make that fit. And then, you know, sure enough, 2020 happens. And we're on the road in our living full-time in an RV, and we're just like, man, just something doesn't feel right anymore. And maybe we should start thinking about getting some land and homesteading sooner rather than later. That's kind of our 7-year plan. Well, the way the world is, we're just like, it's our 5-year plan now. So, so we finished up our last assignment at the end of 2020, at the beginning of, no, when did we finish? March of last year. Yeah, March of last year was when we finished our last critical care contract, and we decided we don't have land yet, but let's at least get the ball rolling. Let's see if we can just homestead with family. So we moved in with family, and we created an impromptu garden in their backyard, tried to learn principles of gardening. You know, it was just weeds and clay back there anyway. So I was like, well, maybe we can improve it a little bit and just get our feet wet in this homesteading. And then we came across your guys' 18-day compost. And because we were thinking about getting chickens, and just for whatever reason, you know, out of the ether comes your YouTube channel on your 18-day compost, and we got hooked on your show. And
like a light from heaven, y'all.
when these things happen, you gotta just roll with them, you know. And it was just like what you guys were doing with your chickens and composting made sense to us. And we were like, well, if we're gonna have a farm, we're probably gonna have chickens. And it's like, well, what's the best way to use these chickens like a tool? In more than just getting eggs, but what else can we get from them? And so we started trying to learn about chickens, and you guys have composting with chickens. So it's like, geez, there's really something to this. So we got ourselves some baby chickens. We had a dozen of them, and we started raising them. And that was when I started reaching out to you for, you know, just this and that, because we had a small ring. We're doing everything on small size, and just going into that, it only took until like that first compost flip where we're like, oh, we need to do this.
Who knew?
Yep.
Wow.
Because when the steam comes out,
yeah,
there's something it's it's like alchemy going on. There's science. You can call it whatever you want. When you don't understand it, it's magic.
Yeah.
But once you start researching, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But
what I thought was astonishing is that the first person ever to reach out, because I was hoping and praying someone would ever do this chicken tractor on steroids, you were the first one to reach out to me, and I think it was on Patreon. And I was like, good night. He's doing it all wrong, but it's working. And he's doing it in his own way. But see, that's what I didn't know. That's why I wanted it replicated, so people could do it their own way, whatever made sense to them, so we could find the full extent of how well it worked. Did it work in these circumstances? And you were off and running, so that's what I found. You got my attention right off the bat. I was hoping and praying somebody would pick it up, but sorry, don't mean to cut you off, but
No, that's fine.
it's awesome that's how the relationship began. And wow, so you got a chicken tractor on steroids going at somebody else's house. That's where you started. So all the people that say they can't homestead, you two are proving that no matter where you are, you can homestead. Okay, so let's pick it up from there. You're at the house.
So at that point, we knew that this was temporary, because we moved back home to look for a piece of land that we could create our own homestead on. So while we were learning gardening and chickens and composting, we were also looking for a place to live. So we, during that, how long were we?
About a summer.
Yeah, it's pretty much, so by the end of the summer last year, we found our spot. It had water, it had timber, it had sunlight, and it checked our boxes for like our RV as well. It was undeveloped, but like we went and saw it, and when we saw it, we said, this is it, and we knew it was it, and so we purchased that, and then we just started trying to create a homestead, and that's what and at the same time, I've got friends and family that are also feeling the pressure of the world right now.
Now, you two are traveling nurses, and as everybody knows, you two are very wealthy. So, no, there's a part of me that's joking, but everybody knows that, you're not doing jobs where you barely make any money. So you guys basically had the ability. That's a jet setting life. You're literally going from town to town, no obligations outside of moose, really. You have your camper behind you that you're taking from place to place. Now you find yourself in this setting, was it that much of a jump to go from that lifestyle into a homesteading, and not just a homesteading lifestyle where you got a roof over your head like we do? You two are doing it very, very different. You're kind of hacking it out of the wilderness. No water, am I correct? No water, no nothing. What did you have when you got on this property?
We don't have electricity.
Okay.
But there was a well, and there is a septic tank there, and so that's how we have our RV connected. But yeah, we're doing everything else with electricity. We have a generator. But to take it back, you say, whenever we say like, oh, we're travel nurses, there's always this like, oh, you got the money.
Right.
Well, we got into travel nursing for travel, and literally to figure out where we wanted to go. And our focus, since we've been together, is not money freedom, but time freedom. We only work 6 months of the year. We have to live off of that income for the whole rest of the year. So we have a very frugal lifestyle. We make less than six figures, in our careers. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we love the outdoors. We'd spend 6 months of the year living off grid. So to go full time off grid,
you were already set.
Yeah,
for it.
it's not like we were living in hotels and urban dwellers.
Right.
We were camping for years.
Wow.
And so that made the transition easier.
Well, that's pretty cool. I saw the beginnings of your YouTube channel when you started, and now you're off and running. It's funny how you're balancing like building infrastructure, and at the same time building infrastructure for animals, and at the same time trying to learn all these new tasks. How hard was the learning curve? I understand that you already had a toe in there, but you always had the convenience of being able to go down to the local Walmart if you wanted to, I would assume, because you're working to a place where you had at least some kind of proximity to a hospital. So there had to be some of the modern conveniences. Now what are some of the biggest challenges? Because so many people out there hit me up about, hey, I want to get into this lifestyle. I don't know where to start. How hard is it going to be? Let me ask you two, unless Ashley wants to jump in here. How hard has it been? Do you regret doing any of this? Do you wake up every night and think, oh my goodness, what did I do? Where are you in all this?
I've never felt more alive in my entire life. It's something that's been just phenomenal in that regard. And as far as challenges are concerned, I think having the challenge in front of you is what makes me feel so alive. And that's it's that challenge that builds the muscle. And so we look forward to the challenges. But what do we think about that has been the hardest? I think it's mostly just trying to figure out what's the most important thing to do now. Because there's so many things. There's like seeds that you could plant, there's chickens that you could raise, there's structures that you could build, there's water management. And so we sometimes have to sit down and be like, what do we really got to get done today? And for us, transitioning without electricity has been, how do you stay warm? How do you get water if like your pipes freeze? Stuff like that. Just having.
Well, then that brings me to I'm going to ask the same question but a different way. Okay, everybody knows that your vehicles, if they're going to break down, it always happens in winter. You're going to have your worst problems. Well, vehicles break down all the time, but it seems like they make themselves most manifest in the winter. How was your first winter on that property? Because that's when you find out whether or not you're cut out for this, in my view. When you live in because we've been there before. It's through the winter. Summer, you can get by, but winters, that's where the rubber hits the road. How was your first winter out there? Did you have any self-doubt in any of it?
It was cold.
Did you? Was it at those times in winter? Did you say, "Man, I really wish I had a hotel right now"?
No, we didn't.
Really? Okay. Outside of
sometimes
water?
we'd wake up and my hair would be frozen to the wall.
Good night, man. Did y'all have any heat up in there? What's up?
We had a wood burning stove that was jimmy rigged to the outside of our trailer.
Good night. Even Inuits didn't even have. They don't wake up like that. Good night.
We were looking at journal entries from when we were staying in Arizona several years ago, and it was a cold night. It was 55. And then we're looking at our thermometer, it's 39,
Wow.
Between 39 and 45, depending on if we turned on a little buddy portable heater for extra warmth. Then we had that cold spell.
Let me ask you, as nurses, let's look at the status quo right now, because I know everybody's going to, if I don't ask this question, everybody's going to say, well, why didn't you? And I got to find a clever way of saying it for a number of reasons, because if I say it wrong, guess what? No more YouTube channel. So let me ask you this. What did you two, as professionals, what have you guys done to care for your health? I guess I better not ask a leading question. Was there any clever tricks you did, or were there any things you avoided?
So we did intermittent fasting.
This is so unbelievable, man. I can't even ask this
All right.
question.
No, I think I can do it.
Okay.
So we did intermittent fasting, lots of rest. We take a mycelium complex, like Paul Stamets.
Mm-hmm.
We're a family of mushroom lovers, and we got lots of sunlight. That's what we use to get us through. And then once the choice of how you protect yourself and your immune system started being taken away from us, that's when we left the ICU.
Ah, that's about the cleverest way I've ever heard of answering a question like that I could ever think of. Folks, this is like his first interview, and these two are wicked smart. And there's things we talk about that honestly can never be on a YouTube channel, not if we want to keep it for any period of time. There's a thing in this world called the Hegelian dialectic. It's thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. We're not going to get all high tech like that. We're going to call it problem, reaction, solution. And it's been used from antiquity. They've called it a number of other things, but really it's the Hegelian dialectic. Problem, reaction, solution. So James, we covered the COVID thing. We're going to transition into the latest crisis, problem, reaction, solution.
Sure.
Or thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Say that 10 times in a row. So given the problem, reaction, solution, what do you have to say concerning all that stuff? Because we talked privately about it. Problem when you talk privately before an interview is that it doesn't always come out in the interview. So what are you thinking given the current status quo? And I'm talking about problem, reaction, solution. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think what I want to talk about is what I'm seeing, like, financially. I'm seeing crazy inflation, and I'm seeing a food crisis. And I was just getting propane this morning, and our local farm store doesn't have fertilizer. Yeah. And this has been something that has been on the radar, if you're paying attention, for over a year now. And like financial system, this is something that a lot of us have been like, how is a financial system still even functioning with all this printing? Like, where is that hyperinflation? From mismanagement of money, from mismanagement of farming, from mismanagement, like all this stuff. And it feels like it's been coming to a head for so long. And I'm like, we're gonna find out how poorly money's been managed in this country. And then all of a sudden, there's the giant war going on, and it's like, we're gonna have to, I can just see it. I feel it in my heart, where they're gonna be like, we don't have food rations because of this, and our currency isn't working anymore because of this. So we have this solution. We've got this new ID, that pairs in, who you are. It's private. It's got who you are, and it connects to your digital currency that we can now give to you, because this new thing is, our old system's not working.
Right.
But it could be infiltrated by the enemy. So we need to have, it just feels like there's something that was organically happening that was giving us a clue as to how mismanaged our country is. And now it's like, oh, there's another issue. And that's what I have.
See, that's kind of, I get that. It's too convenient. Where one drops off, lo and behold, the other one picks up. Where people start to ask critical questions about one thing, and then lo and behold, here we are, we got this new one that we've been waiting on. Yeah. And it's like, okay, it just seems like one distraction after another. And then if you get into problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian thesis, antithesis, synthesis, if you look at this, all they do is just redirect the ball into a new area. So that brings us into preparedness. I don't see any other conclusion, or anybody with any sense that could see it any other way these days, where, like you said, you got a system that's on a knife's edge. It's fragile as all get out. Would you like to share with anybody what you're doing, where you keep it? No. Yeah, you want to tell everybody where your preps are and all that good stuff?
Well, I think the biggest thing is do what you can with what you have. And for us last year, I thought the world was falling apart in March of last year. And it was like, I better learn chickens. I better learn gardening, because I only have days. And it's been a year, and the world hasn't fallen apart. But I'll tell you what, that practice garden, learning chickens, finding a new avenue for
right.
living is priceless. And so, like, the biggest thing that helped us on our homestead was taking the fear that was happening last year at about this time and turning it into something positive. It's like, let's grow something that actually benefits us out of this chaos that the world seems to be in. And so we turned ourselves into more of a producer mindset instead of consumer. It's like, if they're not going to give me food because I don't have something, well, I'm going to grow my own food. If I can't get my, whatever, I'm going to figure out how to cut a tree down. And it's empowering. to take life into your own hands.
All right, y'all. So we covered a lot of ground today, and we're kind of losing the light right now, and we still have to go out here and feed some animals. So we're going to have to bring it to a close. But folks, you definitely want to check them out. I'm not sure how much James and Ashley are going to reveal on YouTube or even in this interview, because they're really extraordinary people, and it's pretty awesome to know that they're friends of ours, and it's always a joy when they come to visit. And I know Michelle, she just gets such a massive joy watching little Moose here play with that little homeless puppy of hers. So so it's always fun. Can you tell people where they can find y'all?
Yeah, I mean, go into your internet browser. You can type in strand.farm. It'll take you right to our website. We do a weekly newsletter of our life on the homestead. We just give like a synopsis of what we accomplished and then what our goals are for the upcoming week. And then I write an article pretty much every week about whether it's finance or homesteading or just mindset in general.
This dude is wicked smart, y'all. I'm telling you what, I learned so much from both of them when they come here. A lot of which I cannot even discuss on here, because if you want to see another episode of this, y'all, we cannot talk about this stuff, only in person. Yeah, there's a few people out there that know what I'm talking about. But anyway, it's been a real joy to have them, y'all. If you need anything, remember, check out the website, check out the description box below. Till next time, this is Billy and William and
James.
Ashley and James from Perma. I'm from Perma Pastures Farm. They're from StrandFarm. You dig it?
We have a YouTube channel too, you guys. StrandFarm.
Yeah, we almost forgot that part. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time.